Alright, so in this video, I'm going to talk about one of the issues I ran into early on in my residential snow removal business. I'm going to talk about how I created that problem, and I'm going to talk about how I solved that problem. So let's go ahead and get into it. So when I first started my snow removal business, I ran into this situation time and time again where I would have customers calling me up, asking me if I would be able to get them shoveled out of their driveway for a certain time in the morning for an appointment. So they would have a doctor's appointment, or they would have to get to a important meeting, and they would ask me if I would be able to shovel them out in time for their meeting to get them out in the morning. And I would always say yes, and I would say yes because I wanted to provide good customer service. I wanted to be nice, and honestly, because that's what the customer expected. So in the beginning, this was great because I was providing excellent customer service. My clients were super happy with me. They were referring me to all their friends, and I was growing my business. But as my client list expanded, it became harder and harder to accommodate people's schedules in this way. So what would happen after I got to 25, 30 customers is that I would have customers, let's say number 12 on my list, want to be number 1 on the list on that day, and what that ends up doing is throwing off your whole schedule. So now you're starting at number 12, working your way back to number 1, and then heading over to 13, and basically you're just adding a whole bunch of extra drive time into your route no matter how you dice it. It's going to end up taking you longer overall to do your day now because number 12 wanted to be done number 1. So that would make your day longer. It would make it so that certain customers wouldn't see you until later in the day, and it just became stressful because now you're working on their schedule instead of yours. On top of that, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 people on one day asking you to get there to get them out in the morning for an appointment, it becomes almost undoable unless you start earlier and earlier in the day. In which case, it's just a headache. It's just a headache one way or the other. So it became a real pain in my butt. So the problem here is that that was the customer's expectation of me, and the customer expected this of me because I had never told them otherwise. I had never addressed this scenario. I never told them what I would do in this situation. So the problem with expectations is once the customer has an expectation, it's very hard for you to go ahead and change that. It's tough to all of a sudden be like, hey, we're not going to provide that service for you anymore, but we're still going to charge you the same amount of money. So what I did is I started tackling this issue at the root of the problem, and that is at the estimate, at the quote. When I first meet with the customer, I make this very clear right from the jump before I even have an agreement with them. I tell them, hey, if you want to work with us, this is how we do things. We do not guarantee to be there by a certain time in the morning to shovel you out for appointments. If you do have an appointment, we cannot guarantee to get you out in the morning. And that's basically what I tell them right from the jump. I've never really had any pushback from a customer. If a customer doesn't like the sounds of that, they can just say no. But if they say yes, then they're signed up with me, and they now have the expectation that I will show up when I show up, not the expectation that they can call me whenever they want and I'll show up. So that is what I did, and it has made a big difference in my business. It has made it a lot easier for me. It's eliminated a lot of stress. I can do my route 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 25 or 30. I'm not jumping from 1 to 5 to 12 to 16 back down to 2. You know what I mean? So that's what I did, and that's what I do. So lastly, there's a million ways to skin a cat, and I'm not saying that the way I do things is the way that you should do things necessarily. What I am saying is that I do it this way because it makes my life easier, it makes my business run a little smoother. But maybe your business model is different, maybe you charge a premium for on-demand service, or maybe you're just starting out and you're building your client list and you just want to provide the best customer service possible and it doesn't really affect you. That's great, but what I am saying is that you need to manage your customers' expectations right from the jump. So you need to make sure that they know what your expectations are, and you need to make sure that you know what their expectations are. So bring this up when you're doing a quote or an estimate. Make sure you address what you're going to do when they have an appointment in the morning time. So that's it for this video. Manage your customers' expectations, be clear with them from the jump about how you do what you do, and avoid being in the situation of them saying, I thought you did it this way, and you can't dispute it because you never told them how you do things. So that's about it. Thank you for watching. Peace.